Okay, what is music? To me, music is an opportunity to express yourself with no boundaries and no guidelines. You start with this blank page and you end up with expressing yourself, and whatever comes out, comes out. You can make an R&B beat one day and wake up the next day and do reggae, and that's the best part about it, because you just go with the flow. And whatever sounds good to you is most likely going to sound good to someone else. And so I've actually been doing this for about 8 years now, and I started doing it because I couldn't play an instrument. So now I use a DAW, which is a digital audio workstation, basically just a software used through the computer. And you play keys through a keyboard. And the coolest part is, through this keyboard you can access any sound on the entire planet, right at your fingertips. And to me, that's the coolest part. And so today I just wanted to show you the very basics of how you begin to mix a beat. Everything you hear on the radio is already completely finished and mixed, but it doesn't start that way. So what I have here is a beat that I actually created a while ago, a full beat, and I reverted back to the beginning, took all the effects off, took all the levels back to normal, and basically have a very rough beat, and that sounds like this. Now, as you can tell, that's very rough. The sounds are competing for space coming out of the speakers. So when you begin to mix, the very first thing you want to do is just start with the volume. You want to pick a sound that is your driven force, and you want it to be the most predominant in your song. And you want that to be the loudest, most prominent sound. So with that case, this is the lead, and what you'll do is you'll measure it up against what's called a metronome, and that is a ticking sound that is your guideline for what you want your volume to be. And that sounds like this. That sounds good. And now you no longer need the metronome, and you can compare all the rest of the sounds up with your main lead. So next would be the piano. Sounds pretty good there. And then next is your pad, which is kind of like an atmospheric sound, kind of gives it like an atmosphere sort of sound to it. So that gives it a little personality. Now, the next part is you begin to open all the sounds up in an equalizer, and that's short for that is EQing. And basically what that is cutting, boosting, and shaping wavelengths that the sounds travel through, so you make room for each individual sound as they play through your speakers, and they're not competing for room within your mix. And one thing all these three sounds have in common is you don't want any of the low sounds coming out of these. So you'll want to cut them to make room for your kick and bass, which you will hear later. So you'll come here into the mix, and this is your equalizer. And as you play it, you'll see, you can see where the wavelengths travel through, and all you'll do is slide this over to eliminate any of the low wavelengths. And you do that twice for good measure. So now you have a bit smoother, cleaner sounding mix. And what we arrive to is your final product, along with all the rest of the beat, sounds like this. And that is the basics of how to begin to mix a beat.